Okay, the time is now 6:01 and I'd like to call this meeting to order. The board members are participating via Zoom. I'd like to welcome those who are participating via Zoom and those watching the board meeting via live streaming. The link to the meeting is on the district webpage under Board of Education. The streaming will run through the end of the meeting. If the board is on a break, the screen will fade to black and the sound will be muted. In the event there is a disruption in the audio portion, I will pause the meeting until it is reestablished. We have Mr. Hidon participating via Zoom. Mr. Hidon, can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Smith.
We have Mr. Stephen Otero participating via Zoom. Mr. Stephen Otero, can you hear me?
I can.
We have Mr. Frank Otero participating via Zoom. Mr. Otero, can you hear me?
Yes.
We have Mr. Vickers participating via Zoom. Mr. Vickers, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
We have Superintendent Gibson participating via Zoom. Mr. Gibson, can you hear me?
And Mr. Smith.
Thank you. I'd like to remind everybody, if you're not engaged in the conversation, to please mute your microphones. Mr. Gibson, will you please announce the meeting?
I will. This meeting has been announced in accordance with the Open Meetings Resolution and is a legally constituted meeting of the Los Lunas Schools Board of Education.
Thank you, Mr. Gibson. Mr. Hidon, will you lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, republic
For which it stands.
which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Hidon. Mr. Gibson, are there any changes or deletions to the agenda?
There are none this evening, Mr. Smith.
I will stand for a motion on the agenda.
Make a motion, we accept the agenda as presented.
I have a motion by Mr. Stephen Otero to accept the agenda as submitted by Mr. Gibson and the staff. I'll stand for a second.
I'll second it.
I have a second by Mr. Eloy Hidon. Mr. Vickers, how do you vote?
Yes,
Mr. Frank Otero, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Stephen Otero, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Eloy Hidon, how do you vote?
Yeah.
And I vote yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. That brings us to item number 5. I stand for a motion regarding the consent items.
Mr. President,
Mr. Frank Otero.
all right, I move that we consent the entire consent sheet as presented tonight with the following exceptions. Item number 9. 9B, consideration of approval of purchase REDW LLC for purchase order increase 1100 operational. Item number 10, approval of collective bargaining agreements, CABs, certified employees 2018 to 2021. Item number 10B, educational support personnel, ESPs, from 2020 to 2023. And last but not least, item number 11C3, professional legal services over 40K threshold, Himes, Patrica, and Fester, invoice number 43791 through July 30th, 2020, 1100 operational.
Thank you, Mr. Otero. I have a motion by Mr. Frank Otero to approve the entire sheet with the exception of item number 9B, consideration of approval of purchase REDW LLC for purchase order increase out of 11,000 operational. Item number 10A, collective approval of collective bargaining agreement, certified employees 2018 to 2021. Item number 10B, educational support personnel, ESPs 2020 to 2023. And item 11C3, professional legal services over 40K threshold, Hines, Petrarca, and Fester, invoice number 43791 through July 31st, 2020, 1100 out of operational. I will stand for a second.
I'll second that.
I have a second by Mr. Stephen Otero. Mr. Vickers, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Frank Otero, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Stephen Otero, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Eloy Hiron, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes. For the benefit of the audience, all agenda items have been reviewed by the board members individually. Consent items are the action items on the agenda presented by the superintendent and staff for approval. If no discussion has been asked regarding these items by any of the board members, the items may be submitted for approval with one motion and one vote. That will bring us to item number 7. Mr. Gibson.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. So the first item under my report is our beginning of the school year remotely. And I'd like to do a little history first and then tell you about what's been happening in these first 2 days of teaching students remote. As you know, we requested an opportunity to begin the school year for teachers on August 3rd, but not have students return until yesterday, the 17th. That 2-week window of time gave us an opportunity to begin to have teachers plan together, work together, develop lessons and activities so that we wouldn't have what we had last spring and what a lot of districts had last spring, an hour or an hour and a half of instruction with chats and kids tuning in and out. We wanted a full school day as defined by PED of 5.5 hours with all of our students using our curriculum with lessons and activities coming from their own teachers. So at the elementary level, our teachers are working individually with their group of kids that would be assigned to them according to the schedule. An hour and a half in the morning of literacy instruction followed by a half an hour of support and intervention, and then an hour of math instruction, and then the following in some sort of sequence, science and social studies instruction. So at the elementary level, students are assigned to a particular teacher, the teacher that would be their grade in their classroom, and they're getting a full instructional load. Sitting behind that are teams of teachers, other members of the staff, ancillary staff, aides, supporting instruction so that we know that students are online. They're manning the chats, they're manning the assignments, working in a team with teachers. And then in the larger sense, the teachers at each grade level are working in teams to make sure that they're delivering relevant and appropriate instruction. At the middle and high school level, teachers are working fully in teams. And again, delivering the core curriculum, the 4 major content areas, English language arts, mathematics, science, and social studies. And the teams of teachers are developed around those core teachers. But again, sitting behind those teachers are other teachers that are part of those faculties, aides, and other staff members who are supporting that instruction so that we're sure that every student is getting a Zoom lesson delivered by a classroom teacher, but also getting activities and assignments and things that will go back and forth, that we're monitoring to a large degree the chats. We're making sure that the curriculum is aligned to our grade level curriculum. We're trying to assess from the very beginning where our students are because they lost so much instructional time last spring, and of course the summer intervened as well. So over the last week, beginning on Thursday, I've visited 3 or 4 schools a day. I have 3 schools left, which I will visit tomorrow. So beginning on Thursday and Friday, I met with the secondary principals and their assistant principals. I looked at a lot of the things that were going on. At Valencia High School, I happened to be there during a faculty meeting, so I joined in that faculty meeting and had a wonderful conversation with that faculty for a half an hour. On Monday, I visited the middle school and high school on this side of the community. Again, saw a lot of Canvas pages, a lot of lessons and activities, checked in with the principals and the assistant principals to make sure everything was moving the way we wanted to. Over the last 2 days, I visited 6 elementary schools, again, visiting with the principals, checking in, seeing how things are going. I guess the really good news is that we have almost all of our students checking in. So for instance, today, Los Lunas High School reported to me that out of the 1,530 or so students who are registered, 1,400 of those students have logged in and begun learning. The same message is true at Valencia High School and the two middle schools. At the elementary schools that I visited, the overwhelming number of kids have logged in. I would say the biggest issue that we faced, the one that has been a challenge, has been making sure everybody can log in with their devices. Over the past 2 weeks, students have received either an iPad or a MacBook. We had some issues with logins. We had some issues with students not and families not knowing the code. We had a lot of phone calls yesterday. We had way fewer today. I checked in this afternoon with the principals and with the executive staff. Mike Good and his staff have done a great job of troubleshooting things. As you would expect, we had a few iPads that didn't work, and those have been changed out. The vast majority of kids are now online and getting lessons. I think that I would say that the principals are really pleased with what's going on. They're pleased with the effort of their staff, and our students are actively getting lessons and activities every day. So other than the technology glitches, which were to be expected, and I've had some folks email me, and I've sent them back to the principals. Most of it was around getting passwords, getting access to Zoom and to Canvas. I think we've solved most of those problems. That's been the biggest issue, but instruction is ongoing. It's robust. It really is focused on our curriculum. Our students are showing up, and I think things have gotten off to a really good start. As I said to principals in our meeting last week, I know there will be glitches and issues during this first week. Our goal is to get everybody up and learning, to deliver lessons and activities and have our kids understand the rituals and routines of instruction remotely. We'll get better at it next week. We'll get better at it the week after. If we stay in this format, I'm very confident that by the middle or by the end of week 3 and 4, we will be really cranking. So other than some technology glitches, which were to be expected, largely around passwords and access, we're up and running, and remote learning is happening at a much better pace and in a much more robust way than last spring. So I will be more than happy to answer any questions you might have. And the one other thing I would mention is in visiting all of these schools, there is PPE at the main entrance. There's hand sanitizers and masks if people need them, and shields. I've had my temperature taken more times than I need to have it taken, but I check in the morning here at the district office and fill out the form that we have my temperature taken, and every time I show up in a school, I let them know I'm coming, and there's somebody at the door to let me in and take my temperature. I have a mask on. Everybody that I see in the school has a mask on, and until I get into the principal's office where we're socially distanced, I wear my mask, and everybody else does too. We've had a couple of issues of principals reporting that people coming in from the outside weren't wearing masks. We've corrected that very quickly, so I'm very comfortable that we're operating in a safe manner, that we have protocols for entering our schools and for checking everybody to make sure they're okay. So that was the last thing I wanted to mention, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Gibson. Board members' comments?
I have a question.
Mr. Otero?
Mr. Gibson, how many students are attending this remote classes? Is it pretty much the same class size as has been on live teaching at school sites? Or have they bunched up a bunch of students for one teacher to teach several students at one time?
Depends on the grade level. So elementary students are assigned an individual teacher. At the secondary level, we've created teaching teams. So an individual teacher might be delivering a core lesson the opening lesson, as I might call it, to a larger group of students, but then they're breaking off in different ways, in different configurations.
When you say a larger group of students, what is the estimated size of those that are attending via remote?
I'm not sure that I could tell you that, Mr. Otero. I didn't ask that question.
Is our principal from the high school?
No, I told the principal they didn't need to be on tonight, but I can get you an answer for that.
Okay, and so like if there's a whole bunch, do you think it's productive to have that many students under one teacher?
Well,
I know it's early. I know I'm not criticizing. I just know it's early, and it's just a thought that's out there. It's something that we got to look at. It seems like to me that every time I bring something up, you do look into it, and I appreciate that. So it's just something that I'm sure, like you said, you don't have the answer right now, and it sure would be nice to get that answer. And if you can email us in the future, just letting us know exactly how that's. I guess you understand my question, though, right?
I definitely understand your question, and I do know that teachers are teaching in teams, so that we're trying to make sure that we're covering every aspect of remote learning. If you just do a Zoom lesson, you don't know how many kids are on, and they can Zoom off and on. So what we're trying to do is really provide kind of a classroom situation where you might have one teacher who's doing an opening lesson, for lack of a better term, direct instruction. But other teachers are sitting behind that teacher, monitoring the assignments, monitoring group activities, monitoring chats, trying to make sure that it's as similar as it can be in a remote situation to actual classroom experience, which isn't just the teacher talking and kids listening. It's really an interactive experience. So, some of the parents that I've talked to have told me that their students are involved in group work, they're involved in chats, they're involved, and I'm not sure to what degree they've actually given assignments such as class assignments and homework, but that's our goal, that we mirror what would happen in a real classroom. And so we've teamed teachers together to make sure that happens. So you might have a math teacher teaching Algebra 1 at the 9th grade level, but you have other teachers who are working on that team who don't have their own specific classroom assignment because they teach electives or special classes supporting that teacher.
Okay, so how many hours a day is there actual teaching? Like if I'm a student at the high school, how long am I sitting in front of this computer?
You're getting between 4 and 5.5 hours of instruction, depending on the classes you're taking.
And grouping a bunch of kids together is for the purpose of shortening the school day? Is that the purpose?
Not really shortening the school day. The recommended day from PED was 5.5 hours. And so that's the way we've structured the day. So there are 4 hours of instruction in the morning from 8 to noon, and then another hour and a half in the afternoon available for intervention, for support, for other things. We're really focusing on, at the advice of PED, on the core curriculum, on English, math, science, and social studies.
Good job. Thank you. And then I got one more question. Being as food is one of my favorite things. The second day of school, how did your school lunch program work out?
It seems to be going fine. I called around. We did not have a single call from a parent or anybody in the community asking about food services. I don't know. Some people probably still think it's summer. School in many people's minds doesn't begin till after Labor Day, but we're preparing the food. We're having it and the grab and go situation. I can get you a number. I didn't try to do that today, but I can get a number from Angela and Jamie about how many students we served the first 2 days of school.
And after a discussion on last Tuesday about possibly having more serving sites, have you kind of explored that anymore? Or?
We have, okay. And we've also talked with Mark Garcia about using bus drivers to deliver food to remote locations. We will continue to work on that.
Yeah, I guess one in particular that I'm concerned with is like Highway 6.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Are we getting food to those guys?
I can't answer that question directly, but I can find out for you.
All right. That's all the questions I have, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Gibson.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Otero. Board members,
Mr. Smith,
Mr. Vickers.
I have a couple of questions. If I stray and in violation of open meetings, shut me off. But I wanted to ask a couple of questions regarding starting school. One is, I see a lot of school buses moving all over the county, and I'm wondering what they're doing since we're not moving students into school sites.
All I can tell you is what Mr. Garcia told you last week, Mr. Vickers, that we are doing training runs with bus drivers. We're not moving students, so I don't know. When you see these buses, I assume they don't have students on them.
Well, it's hard to tell sometimes, but yeah, I don't think I've seen students. So I was just wondering what the buses were doing.
Yeah, I mean, we are doing training runs. We have new drivers. We did have some turnover in our driver staff. So I know we're training some bus drivers, but that's all I can tell you. I really don't know.
Okay, and then the other thing I have, and it's a little bit beyond the remote part, but our next board meeting is the 8th of September, and technically the state tentatively is authorizing us to go to the hybrid model on that date.
For elementary schools, right.
And you had mentioned previously that you did not want to go back and forth, that you wanted to be sure that once we did that, we stayed with that. So do you have a different criteria for moving to the hybrid because we're going to stick with it?
What I can tell you is that's been a topic of discussion with every principal I visited. And as I said, I visited all but 3 principals. They're absolutely unanimous that if we're going to go to a hybrid schedule, we should try to stay there. But I would say the vast majority, and I think I'm speaking for all of them, would like us to stay remote for a time. That once we get good at this, they feel like going back and forth would be really difficult. The 3 principals that I met with today essentially said to me, if we are going to go hybrid on September 8th, we hope the governor tells us Thursday that that's what she's planning on doing, because we will need 2 weeks of planning to set up this hybrid schedule. So if the governor doesn't tell us on Thursday that we're going hybrid and then says the following Thursday, which is when she's tended to have these press conferences and announcements, that's going to give us a week and a day to plan for returning to a hybrid schedule. That's going to put us in really tough situation. Just a matter of dividing the kids and deciding who comes when, how do we arrange bus schedules. So I think our preference would be to stay for the immediate future in a remote learning situation. And if and when the governor says that she's comfortable that we have flattened the curve, give us some time, at least a couple or 3 weeks, to plan a hybrid schedule and go back to school. So if you ask me, our preference, it would be to stay in remote learning for a period of time.
Okay, I guess a follow-up to that. If the governor authorizes the hybrid starting September 8th, even if she says that this Thursday, do the individual districts have the option of not doing that and staying in remote?
Yes, you do.
All right.
So if you chose to stay remote, and I might be wrong about this, I was talking to some folks about this today. I think Santa Fe has announced that they're going to stay remote for the first quarter, for the first 9 weeks of school. And I think the Albuquerque board is meeting Thursday night and to make a decision on that. I'm not sure what Las Cruces has done, but I know I've been on weekly calls with the superintendents around the state, and some of the smaller districts are really eager to go back to school because they can do social distancing so much more easily. The larger districts that have larger class sizes are really thinking about what to do. But it is up to the board to decide. The governor can recommend it, but it's up to you to decide.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Board members? So, Mr. Gibson, I just have a couple, and to piggyback on what we were just talking about, just for clarification, the governor can tell us that we cannot go to school
That's correct.
live, and we cannot override that. However, if she says we are comfortable with you guys going back to school at whatever level, then it's going to be up to the Board of Education to determine whether we feel that is safe.
Up to individual boards to decide. That's correct. So
Correct.
she prohibit us from going back, but once she says you can go back to a hybrid schedule, it's up to you to determine when you're going to do that.
Right. And I agree 100% with you that it is not going to be productive to be going back and forth because there is a process that has to be put in place for doing that. It's not like you can be hybrid one day and then next day be totally remote again. It's just not going to work out that way. And we're going to lose instructional days, I think, if we start going back and forth.
Like you, I've looked at what's happened in places around the country that have gone back to a hybrid schedule, and there have been some really substantial outbreaks of COVID among both students and staff. So, I'm sure the governor's looking at that. I'm not obviously even telling her what to think about doing, but the what's happening in the rest of the country concerns me.
Correct. And you're right. Everybody thinks that they're ready to go back, and inevitably a lot of them are not. So yeah, that'll be something for us to consider when that time comes. One of the other things I was talking about is, I guess we had 100 kids at the high school that did not log in. Is that correct?
That's about right. Yes.
So how long do we, what's the path for that? When do we contact these 100 kids?
The plan is to contact everybody directly who's not logged in. So those teachers that I said are part of the team, they're taking attendance. We are contacting those families and assuming we can get a hold of them. If the teachers or the counselors are or social workers, as the case may be, are successful in contacting families, we will remind them, school has started, time to come back, log on. If you haven't picked up your device yet, you need to come get it. If they don't show up, our next step is to use, and we will probably begin this next week, we will send our SROs to find out what's going on. Every school I've been at these past 5 days, the SROs have been on duty, have been in the schools. We will begin to use them by the end of the week or the beginning of next week for those families we can't contact. I know a couple of the principals have actually gone out on their own with the SROs to check on families that they haven't had any response from. I would say in most cases, Mr. Smith, the house or the apartment or the condo is empty. So folks have moved on. But we will follow up on that and make sure that we get as many kids as we can. It's both a financial issue and an educational issue.
Correct. Thank you, Mr. Gibson. And I know that out of the 100, there's numerous reasons why they can do it. It could be a technology reason. Like you said, it could be that they have vacated our district. There's a lot of reasons why this may or may not happen. So I'm glad you're going to check into that, and we'll get as many of these kids back as we can. And you're right, it is a financial issue for us.
Yep.
The third question that I have is a couple of requests for information about the electives. And I'll start off by saying we have not changed the requirements for graduation in the state of New Mexico, have we?
We have not.
So how are we going to manage this with the elective portion of the required coursework? And I know it's affecting the seniors now, but it's also affecting the juniors and everybody else all the way down the line. So what is our plan to make sure that we address that?
So I told you that we have opportunities in the afternoon for students to take classes. First priority is going to seniors, second to juniors, and on down the line. Students who are behind in credits, we own a license for a program called Apex, which is an online learning program. A student who's diligent can probably make up a credit in 6 to 9 weeks. in whatever credit they're missing. So that's part of what we're doing in the afternoon. If and when we go back to school full time, we will obviously go back to a regular schedule. We ran the schedules for all of our students, and we will offer those electives again. But it's really virtually impossible to offer some of the courses which are hands-on courses. I think about things like welding and wood shop and graphics and all of those courses. But I can tell you that in the discussions that I've had with faculty members, and this is in particular when I talked with the faculty at Valencia High School last week, the art teacher, the music teacher, all of the specialist teachers were really excited about getting to work with their colleagues in teams and think about, okay, when this is all over and we go back to and having kids in school and everything being offered, we're going to be in a much better position to begin to look at how does math apply to a welding class? How does math apply to a music class? How do we use all of the skills that we're learning, communication, mathematics, science, social sciences, in an art class? So they were excited about the opportunity to work with their colleagues across disciplines that they don't always get. The other thing I would say to you is in the statewide superintendent's meeting, this has been a topic of discussion regularly. We're most concerned about the seniors and making sure that they get enough credits to graduate. But a lot of superintendents have voiced to the secretary and to PED, if this drags on for a really long time, do we have to make adjustments to the credit requirements for graduation? Because kids have not been able to get the elective credits that they would normally get. So when you look at the core curriculum that students are required to get before they take electives, it's 18 credits. So the requirement for graduation is 24 credits. Every student would be taking 6 credits of electives beyond that. If you don't take a foreign language, it's probably more like 8 credits. So we may have to make adjustments. If we're out of school for a long time with COVID-related postponements, we're going to have to look and we're going to have to discuss with the state, how do we get kids to the required number of credits to graduate? We haven't forgotten the electives. The elective teachers are working with the core curriculum, but offering many of those courses is challenging. I did talk to Ms. Jaramillo today about Los Lunas High School, and she said the band continues to practice because band teachers are zealots about it in groups of 5. That's what the regulation is, 5 to 1. And I had a really interesting conversation with Mr. Baca, who's the band director at Valencia, and he had a great idea. He said, I'm working to get ensembles of musicians when they're able to go to out in the community and provide some music. Music is a solve for many people. To send a group of kids to Walmart or a group of kids to Smith's or a group of kids to a park. So both band directors have been talking about how to do that. So we're thinking about ways that we can make school more regular. It's just that we're in a obviously very limited situation. So every student is able to take 5 credits this semester. And we will build on that, assuming we go back to school in January or somewhere around then.
Thank you, Mr. Gibson. I just wanted to make sure that, since it's not only Los Lunas, I mean, this is a national thing here. I'm sure that they're going through this all over the country. And it's going to, eventually, when we do come back in whatever form that looks like, it's going to take a lot of extra work on our parts as a school district and on the parents' part and on the students' part, actually, if they're not going to fudge around with the requirements in order to graduate, because they'll have to do it for not only the seniors, and I know we're primarily concerned with them because they're going to be graduating soon, but also with the juniors and the sophomores and those that can't take the extra credit now.
That whole kind of thing compounds.
Right. So I just wanted to make sure that it was something that we were doing. It would be wise to think that they would have to alter the graduation requirements, but I don't want to bank on it, if that makes any sense.
I don't think one semester will make a huge difference because we are offering our seniors the opportunity to make up whatever credits they're lacking. If this drags on into the spring and through the whole school year, that's a different situation where I think we'll need to ask for some relief from PED. But right now, I think we've got things fairly well covered.
Thank you. And I'm very glad that our electives teachers are helping in the classroom. I think that's awesome. I had no doubt that they were going to jump in there and pitch in. And I think it's great that we have the extra staff for our students in the courses that we actually can offer them.
I was very impressed with the level of dialogue that was going on.
Absolutely. Any more comments?
Mr. Smith?
I just got one more follow-up.
Mr. Hidon.
Go ahead, Steve. I'll go
No,
after you.
Mr. Gibson, you had mentioned Valencia High School and Los Angeles High School that you visited or communicated with those principals. How many students do we have at Century High School?
Century is on my list of schools to visit tomorrow. So I know Century started on Monday. I have not gotten a number from Mr. Gary, but I will tomorrow. I can send that to you. I mean, we had 150 students registered. I don't know how many have logged on, but I can find out for you.
Okay, and how do they normally work? I'm just curious, now that Brian asked this question, their electives during the regular.
Well, they use.
I know it's a different school, but.
And they use Apex a lot more than our two comprehensive high schools, because students who go to Century are often credit deficient. They have not been successful in the comprehensive high schools. And that's just, we get students from other districts as well. They already do an awful lot of online learning using Apex. So it's, those students are much more comfortable and familiar with it. And I know in my discussions with Mr. Aguirre, he's indicated to me that students who are really diligent at Century can pick up a lot of credits in a year by doing the online Apex courses.
Okay.
But I can find out for you, Mr. Otero, how many students he has registered and how many have logged on.
How many do we normally have in the regular school year? Do you know?
150.
Okay.
That's the max.
So maybe percentage-wise, it could be the same as the high school in Valencia.
Yeah,
Does Valencia have almost the same numbers of non-participants as Los Angeles High School?
I didn't check in with Mr. Aragon today, but I will. As I said, I was out visiting some elementary schools. I'm sure that if he had major problems, he would have called me.
Okay.
Mr. Hidon, sorry, I'm clicking.
Mr. President?
Don't belong here. Go ahead. Sorry, Mr. Hidon.
Most of the board members asked, I just had to cross off a bunch of the questions that were already asked. I have a follow-up. Mr. Gibson, you reported that you visited one of the high schools. Which high school was that?
I visited both high schools last Thursday and Friday.
Okay.
Thursday
The
and
reason
Friday.
I'm asking that, you mentioned that there's 1,400 students at Los Angeles.
Yeah, that was a report that
You
came in.
mentioned that there were 14. Okay, you mentioned that there was 1,400 students that logged in today. Which high school was that?
That was Los Lunas High School.
Okay. I think you reported to me, or maybe the principal reported a couple of weeks ago that, and maybe I'm wrong, those are around 100.
I keep losing you, Mr. Haron.
All those schools. I know that there's a state mandate to have a certain day, a 30-day count or a 90-day count or something like that. When will we have our first numbers to compare to what we have enrolled in last year's school year?
I was hoping to have that for you tomorrow, but I think it's going to be the end of the week. So by Friday, in my update to you, my weekly update to you, I'll probably be able to give you a fairly accurate number about enrollment. As you can imagine, when you're looking at kids logged on in Zoom or logged on to Canvas, you really have to look at, because it's period by period, we're trying to get a feeling for how many kids are actually logged on. So I think by the end of the week, I'll be able to give you a pretty good number.
Okay. I think I'll ask this question first. I know I brought this up in May, and I really did not think we would be in this position in first part of school. I really thought this COVID would go away. I thought maybe we might get a little bump in the winter. But I really didn't think we'd be here. And I asked to get a lessons learned and see what we did good and what we could do better. So I think we need to concentrate on maybe one of the worst case scenarios, because when I say this, Mr. Smith brought up elective. Well, and you brought up a welding class. I know that a lot of that could be done online. A lot of that is going to be just going through a curriculum, and then later on we can get our hands on. But it was mentioned that we may have to ask the state, or someone's going to have to ask the state to change the state requirements. I want to be able not just to meet them, but offer it to these students. So maybe we need to focus on going back to that message you sent me that you organize some task forces, and we can go ahead and prepare worst case scenario, because it's always easy to go back and open up. And we know how to run a school with the doors wide open. It's just a little tough, and I tip my hat off to you guys for what you guys are doing. But I want to do everything we can, make sure we offer these electives and make sure we complete them. I mean, we have some really good instructors out there. I've never met that guy, but I visited a bunch of last winter, and I've seen all the awards. And he's just one person that I bet you he's chomping at the bit to win more awards and get his kids going. But what I'm getting at is, let's prepare for the worst case scenario. And it's easy. I mean, we already know how to go the other way. So I just don't want to meet the state requirements. I want to offer these kids the full-blown welding class. I mean, I want them to have all this stuff, all their curriculum that's done online. I mean, there's a lot of the bookwork that needs to be done. And that's it. The other board members asked those questions, all the hard questions. So
I can assure you, Mr. Hiron, that we will continue this discussion. You know, we've opened with the core curriculum and a little bit of the extras, primarily focusing on those kids that need to get credits that have lost them. But I can tell you, just from the discussions I've had inside the faculties at the high school, those specialty teachers are chomping at the bit, as you said. They really want to get going. We'll figure it out. Kids who are taking those specialty classes are often taking them as pre-vocational classes. They're thinking about what they're going to do after high school, that they're going to go to a trade school or the community college. If this thing drags on for a really long time, I guarantee you that we will find a way to deliver at least the book learning side of those courses.
Thank you, Mr. Hiron. Any more questions, board members?
Mr. Smith.
Mr. Frank Otero.
I really don't have any questions. All I really have is comments. You know, we're 2 days into this. You know, at the start of every school year, you know, minus the pandemic, there's always issues with numbers of kids in classes or what have you, or in some of those electives. So yeah, personally, I'm not going to panic on that side of it. I could see Mr. Gibson's point as far as if this drags out, it will affect them. Came to my attention just in the past few days, and you know, it is a concern, but I think that it's a concern that rolls all the way uphill, and you know, to the state, and as Brian said earlier, as to the feds. I mean, we're all in the same boat. So I guess the word for the day is patience. You know, patience, and you know, let's take it a day at a time and not panic right now. I think you know, we've got 2 days with no reported employees affected, and you know, even though we're running remotely, but you all are well more prepared this time as opposed to last spring, and you know, just kind of hit everybody by surprise. So, I encourage everyone, the board, the administration, and all the teachers, staff, and all you students out there that are listening, that take it a day at a time. We'll be all right. So, thank you.
One of the things you mentioned, Mr. Otero, that I didn't comment on is the number of teachers who are teaching from their classroom. And I didn't go around and count, but I can tell you that there were teachers' cars in the parking lot when I arrived at those schools. And there are a number of teachers that are teaching from their classroom. Again, we've emphasized to them safety. We've emphasized, you can't get into one of our buildings without having your temperature taken and filling out the form that we have that asks questions about whether you've been in contact with someone with COVID, whether you've been out of state. I mean, it's not a huge number, but there are some teachers who are choosing to teach from their classroom. I haven't gone down the halls and counted them, but I've seen the cars in the parking lot.
Thank you, Mr. Gibson. Thank you, board members. If there's no further comments, we will go to item number 8.
I do want to make one more comment under other comments, if you can give me a minute. We did get word yesterday, at 1:30 yesterday, the public school finance committee met, and we did receive funding for both of our proposals. So we received funding for the pre-K center at Peralta and funding for the pre-K center at RGE at the level that we asked for. So we were successful in presenting to PSFA and getting approval from the Public School Capital Outlay Council.
That is awesome. And I got a very excited email from the district office. So that's unbelievable. That's going to help us out a great deal.
It is. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Gibson. Brings us to item number 8, requested by board member David Vickers regarding resuming in-person board meetings. Mr. Vickers?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, it just it occurred to me that we have administrators and other staff working at all the school sites, and they don't really have a choice. They need to be there. Nurses, custodians, food workers, all of those people. Some of the teachers are there. They don't have to be there, but they're there. And I've done some inquiring about if we would be authorized to have board meetings, but still have the public view the meetings online, streaming, rather than in person. Because I know that was one of the big issues with board meetings, is there's no way we could just open the doors to the public because of social distancing and all. And so I found out that it is legal for us to conduct a meeting with the members in person, with the cabinet there, the superintendent, but the public would still be online viewing it via streaming. And it was also mentioned through comments from previous meetings that, here we are saying, okay, you guys start going, but we're all sitting in our nice homes on Zoom. And to me, it's sort of a leadership issue that if we've got all this staff working in person at the sites, I think the least we could do is meet in person in the boardroom. You can spread out. It's big enough to spread out and do the social distancing. We wear masks and conduct a meeting in person amongst ourselves. So that's what I would like to see happen.
Thank you, Mr. Vickers. Board members, any comments?
Mr. President.
Mr. Frank Otero.
This is Frank Otero. This is Frank Otero. Mr. President, Mr. Vickers, members of the board. I was under the assumption that that we had, or somebody had spoken to legal, and we're obligated to open the doors. It is a public meeting, and by us having a meeting in our boardroom with the doors locked, it wouldn't qualify. And so I was wondering where you got your information. I know a lot of times you can get two attorneys together and they'll come up with two different opinions. So where did you get your opinion, Mr. Vickers?
I asked Mr. Gibson to contact one of our attorneys to get an answer on that, and if he'd be willing to tell us what that answer was, rather than me telling you what he told me.
Yeah.
Mr.
As
Gibson.
long as we, Mr. Vickers and members of the board, as long as you maintain social distancing, and we've obviously looked at the boardroom, you could decide to meet that way. The public is still invited, Mr. Otero, because we would be broadcasting it either by Zoom or by streaming. There are some school boards around the state that are meeting. I can verify that in conversations that I've had with other superintendents. So it is possible for you to do that. The meeting is a public meeting as long as it's being broadcast on Zoom or some other medium. It is a meeting to which the public is invited.
Mr. President, Mr. Gibson. Well, yeah, I'm fine with that. I still think that, I think we're getting closer to that. I'm not sure where we're there yet. I personally, I still have a 7-month-old infant in our house and an 89-year-old mother-in-law right next door here. And we watch them a lot. And personally, till numbers get a little bit better, maybe another week or two, my mind will change. But right now, I couldn't take that. I couldn't take that risk for my family.
Thank you, Mr. Otero. So I'm glad that this item was on the agenda. Me and the superintendent have talked about this for a couple of weeks right now. And primarily our discussion was, before we ever ask our students to come back into the classroom, we were going to be in the boardroom. And there is, as Mr. Otero said, two different stories, no matter who you ask, whether we can or whether we cannot have a board meeting in public. Me personally, I'm all for doing whatever we can in public, as long as it's safe and when it's safe to do so. And we can certainly have a further discussion and try to get 3 lawyers, so maybe we can get 2 siding one way and then we'll get an actual opinion. I don't know that this is a leadership issue that we're not having live board meetings. I do believe that we are taking this one step at a time, as we are with our students and our staff, in being prepared to go back to what we consider normal as far as board meetings and classroom time and everything else goes. But I agree, we need to be in the boardroom long before the students are in the classroom, but we'll do that. We'll have that discussion when we get closer to opening up a lot more than we're opened up right now.
Mr. President.
Mr. Stephen Otero.
So what I can appreciate is that one thing that is a fact is that we have probably triple the amount of people that are attending this meeting via Zoom than we did in live meetings. Here again, I agree with you, Mr. President, that whatever's safe. But I don't know where we are lacking in any way in how we're not able to conduct business as we have been and what the difference would be. So my question is to Mr. Vickers, what do you think is the measurable difference of live as opposed to Zoom?
Well, I think interactions in a live meeting are just, the communication is just that much more clear. You can read body language and facial expressions, and the discussion is a little easier to have a free flow of discussion in a live meeting versus on Zoom. So I think it's the preferable option for conducting a meeting.
So I guess my next question, Mr. President, is how would this be addressed? Does it have to become an action item? How do we move forward with this if we do?
I don't know that we can vote as a board, we'll look into this, and I could be wrong, but I don't know that we can say, Mr. Brian Smith, you have to come to the boardroom now because we voted 3-2 that you have to be in public. I don't know that that's what the case is. I do know this. I'm basing my philosophy on this incoming board, on this in-person board meeting, is that the governor said, if you can do your job from home, then you need to do it from there. Unfortunately, we have a lot of people that we're very, very proud of working in this district that do not have that option, that actually have to show up. And we have to make sure that they do everything in their power to social distance and to take all the precautions, PPE and everything else that we're considering to make sure that they can be as safe as they possibly can on site. Now, I don't want to be the board member that brings it to the other board members, that takes it to home, that brings it to their grandkids, that spreads it that way, if I don't have to be that guy. But when it's safe to be in the boardroom, I will be the first one to say that's where we need to be. That's just my opinion on it. But right now, I'm doing what the governor has asked us to do. So, Mr. Gibson, do you, in your dealings with these superintendents, was that something that they voted on?
You know, I don't know, Mr. Smith. The only thing I can tell you is that some superintendents have reported that their boards are meeting. Now, they're mostly smaller districts. They have less population. My guess would be that they don't have a lot of folks who normally come to a board meeting, but I certainly can find out. I can call Stan Rounds from the Superintendents Association and find out how they did it.
That'd be perfect. I think for future reference, it'd be good to know how we in fact do that, how we in fact go back to that, because I would not want to make somebody go back if they were uncomfortable with it at this time.
So, Mr. President,
Mr. Vickers.
I'm wondering if there is a way technologically to allow a board member as Mr. Frank Otero to participate in the meeting like we are here via Zoom with the rest of the board in person. Would that be feasible?
So from what my understanding is there would be a tremendous amount of feedback inside the boardroom if you have somebody presenting via Zoom, somebody participating via Zoom, and then the rest of the board members participating live. I believe that was the case a while back. It could have been a couple of weeks. That might not be the case anymore. I could be wrong, but I will most definitely find out from our outstanding technology department if that is in fact the case or if it is in fact possible. And I will make sure that I get that answer to you.
All right. All right. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Mr. Frank Otero.
But I would say that our standing policy of calling in still stands. I would be able to call in because it's a health and safety issue. It's just like if a member was sick or was away in the job or what have you. But I'm not pushing for that. I'm not going to say I'm going to be calling in a lot of meetings. I'm just telling you what my opinion is, and I think we're getting closer. But I think that from what I'm hearing, some of these smaller boards are out there in the middle of Tatum or whatever, in the middle of nowhere, and there's more cows than there is people. So, I'm hearing this a lot, and now you're seeing down in the southern end corner of the state. Now there's a big influx of people getting COVID down there. So we have to get back to business, but we also have to be cautious, and we also have to believe in what we're dealing with, and we can't be stupid and just run into it. But I'm willing to do whatever the board's willing to do.
From my end, Frank, I would respect your view and respect the fact that you do have elderly and you do have young kids, and I wouldn't want to jeopardize that myself on your part. So that I think is honorable for you to look out after your family, and I think that's great. So I think we're doing a good job via Zoom. I don't see how we've skipped a beat.
Thank you, Mr. Otero. And Mr. Otero, Mr. Hidon.
Mr. Smith, members of the board, Frank, I want to compliment you what you just said there, because that takes a lot of courage, responsibility, what you're doing for your family. And I respect that. I tip my hat off to you for that. And that is leadership, what you're doing, taking that type of responsibility and transferring that over to some of our staff members that need to do the same thing. So that is, I tip my hat off to you for that. I really thank you for saying that, Mr. Otero. Mr. Vickers, I have a question. And I'm with you 100%. If we ask our students to come back, we have to be the first ones back. Give me an example how you set up the boardroom with our cabinet. I mean, would you expect our cabinet to be there also? Or the public? Are you going to have the public there, or are you going to have a certain amount of public? How are you going to decipher that?
I think if we wouldn't be able to have the public there, if we couldn't determine who would be allowed in and who would not be allowed in as the public, they would have to all be online. There's just not enough room. The cabinet, yeah, the boardroom is big enough. We've done these U-shaped table things where we're all pretty well spread out, and then you have all the desk and stuff behind that. So it would be easy enough to have the cabinet spread out around the outside of the room with us on the U-shaped setup that we've done workshops in, and be spread out enough, everybody wearing a mask. And so you'd have a minimum, you'd have, there's only 4 cabinet members, right? So you have the board, the 4 cabinet, you'd have the superintendent. So you'd have 10, 12 people there.
Thank you, Mr. Vickers. Mr. Gibson, so for future reference, can you find out how that actually happens? Because I agree that I don't think that we can tell people you're going to come to the boardroom. You're going to have your meeting there. I agree that, and even before COVID came along, if you're uncomfortable or if you're feeling ill, you're going to stay at home. I mean, you have that right to call in and participate 100%. So if you could just find out for future reference how we can do that, so I can get that information to Mr. Vickers.
I'll call Stan Rounds tomorrow and
Perfect.
find out how other districts did it. We did, in response to Mr. Hirone's question, we did look at the board at Mr. Vickers' request, and we could probably comfortably socially distance, fit 12 to 15 people in there, which would be the board, myself, Karen, the executive staff, and the NEA rep and the news bulletin rep. So that would be about 12 people, and we could do that. But again, if it's risky, then you obviously don't want to do that. But I'll find out the protocol for you.
Mr. President, Mr. Gibson, and Mr. Vickers, the reason I asked that question, and Mr. Smith, you brought it up, I agree. When we open the schools, we got to be there, and I'm not going to hold Mr. Otero. I respect you 100% for doing what you want to do, and I might do the same thing, but I don't believe the boardroom is going to be a common sense place to have that. What I tried to get at was we're going to have 12 people in that boardroom. We're going to be on Zoom. We're going to get feedback. What I was hoping we would get is we'd have it at another facility, one of the auditoriums, somewhere else. But enough of that. That's all I was hoping to get. Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Hidon. Also, Mr. Gibson, I believe that I got an answer from one of our techies. So if you can just find out if it's even possible, because what I thought was told to me at one time is that the remote board member participating via Zoom, it's difficult to get that video and that audio on YouTube to be with the rest of the board members. And that might make it, if we had 3 guys staying at home, not a legitimate thing. So if you could just find out if it's technically possible and what the rules are when we want to come back.
That's fine, beyond my technical expertise, but I will ask the people who know the answer.
Yes. Perfect. Thank you. Any other comments?
Mr. President,
Mr. Vickers.
Piggyback on what Mr. Hirone mentioned, the thought did cross my mind, and I sort of imagined, what if we did it at one of the school gymnasiums or an auditorium where we could be spread out on the floor, and you could have the people in the stands properly distanced so they could actually really be there in person. But I think that would be a super headache for the technology people to move all the technology and run it from a remote site.
Right. Let's get the technological issues defined, and as well as the protocol issues, and then we can have another discussion on it.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, board members. That will bring us to item number 9A. Tabled item from July 21st, 2020 regular meeting, Finance Committee item, approval of purchase RDW LLC for purchase order increase, 1100 operational. Approval to untable the item. I have no discussion on item 11A. I will stand for a motion to untable this item and bring it back into consideration.
I'll make a motion that we untable this item.
I have a motion by Mr. Stephen Otero to untable item 9A. I'll stand for a second.
I'll second it.
I have a second by Mr. Eloy Hidon. Mr. Vickers, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Frank Otero, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Stephen Otero, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Eloy Hidon, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Item number 9A, approval to untable item. Tabled item from July 21st, 2020 regular meeting, Finance Committee item, approval of purchase RDW LLC for purchase order increase 1100 operational, and bring it back for further discussion. That brings us to item number 9B. Sorry, close my window. Item number 9B, consideration of approval of purchase RDW LLC for purchase order increase 11,000 operational. Mr. Vickers.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've already made comments about this in previous meetings, and I've talked enough tonight. I just don't like the way this was done. We're asking the services have been rendered, and we're asking in arrears to okay it. I believe it should have been a request made prior to the services being rendered would have been the proper way to do it. I just didn't like the procedure, so I'm opposed to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vickers. Mr. Gibson, tell us the good news.
Well, so the original purchase order was for up to $36,000. Reviewing this with the firm, with REDW, they indicated to me prior to July 21st meeting that they thought it would take another $19,000 to complete it, which would have brought it to $55,000. I told them that I thought that would be completely unacceptable to the board, that we needed to get a number that was much closer to the original not to exceed bid. We agreed that $45,000 was the middle point, and I agreed that I would recommend it to the board. I do know that the investigation took more man hours, longer than perhaps was anticipated at the beginning. I didn't have control over this, as you know, but I did communicate regularly with the two representatives from REDW. I think that that number represents the additional $9,000, represents the work that they did. You know that the report has been submitted to you already and is now in the hands of the state auditor as required by statute. It is a job that was completed, and I would recommend that you approve the additional $9,000.
Thank you, Mr. Gibson. Board members, any comments? I will stand for a motion on item number 9B, approval of purchase RDW LLC for purchase order increase 11,000 out of operational.
Make a motion that we approve the additional purchase.
I have a motion by Mr. Stephen Otero that we approve the additional purchase from REDW LLC purchase order increase 11,000 out of operational. I will stand for a second.
I'll second it.
I have a second by Mr. Eloy Hidon. Mr. Vickers, how do you vote?
No.
Mr. Frank Otero, how do you vote?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
My response would be yes.
Thank you, Mr. Otero. Mr. Stephen Otero, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Eloy Hidon, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes. That will bring us to item number 10A, approval of collective bargaining agreements. Certified employees 2018, 2021, Mr. Stephen Otero.
Yes, I did. I wanted this to be somewhat of a discussion to just get a little bit of input from Mr. Gibson on how things went. And if things are smooth and if our NEA organization is happy with how the collective bargaining went. I mean, I'm not looking for any kind of information as to how it went. I just want to see if everything was good and everybody worked together, and if it was all happy-go-lucky for everybody.
Well, negotiations are seldom always happy, but we do have a tentative agreement on both of the contracts. I did not negotiate. That's not a proper role for the superintendent. Mr. Baca, Brian Baca, led our team. The president of NEA is on this call. I told her that this was an item for discussion. I would encourage both Margot and Brian to make comments. Negotiations aren't always smooth, but we did reach a tentative agreement, and NEA has already ratified the contract, and what we're asking is for you to ratify it tonight. We have continued to meet, and I have become involved in these meetings to try and deal with issues that the union has and that we have. And I would say, and I'm speaking only for myself, that it is a productive relationship. The meetings we've had since negotiation ended have been productive. So either Margot or Brian, I welcome you to chime in.
Okay, I'll talk.
Go
Good. Okay, so I'm Margot Rivera. I'm the NEA president, and appreciate you recognizing us with this. We did some hard work. We had a great bargaining team. We had people who worked hard, who worked all summer long on the contracts, and I think it went well. I want to thank Mr. Gibson for his regular conversations about our working conditions at this time, because working conditions are changing all the time. And we have conversations almost weekly about that. And I want to just say that we really appreciate the district having us at the table to talk about those things.
I would also concur that it was, out of it, I think it was a partnership, and it was a good segue into really working with NEA, knowing that when we work collaboratively and we share information and we communicate regularly, that it's beneficial for everybody. So I agree with Margot, the fact that it was a good process. I think that the conversations that have followed since then have also been rich for both sides. And so I think that overall, I think it was a success. I appreciate both my team and Margot's team for the work that we did. It was a good conversation. And I think that now, knowing that where we both stand, it'll open the doors for future conversations and better collaboration on other projects. So I agree.
Thank you, Mr. Baca. Mr. Rivera. So, Mr. Gibson, you said that negotiations usually aren't. That sounded absolutely fine to me. That sounded like it worked out well.
Well, I've been around that block a lot of times, and if you showed up at the first session and everybody said, we agree on everything, it wouldn't be negotiations.
Right. I applaud both of you for coming on and giving us an update. And I thought it sounded like it went really, really well. And I know it takes a lot of effort on both your parts, and we greatly appreciate that. So thank you for that. Board members' comments?
And we're not done, Mr. Smith.
We're not done.
Well, no, Margot's talked about the fact that we continue to have really regular conversations, because as we go back into school, there's a lot of issues that she represents her members on, that we represent the district on, And, you know, we're really looking at how we can do everything safely. And I think we've established a positive working relationship. So when we do go back to school, we'll do it with the agreement of everybody about what the right terms and conditions are. So we're done negotiating, but, you know, we are looking at how we move forward.
So I guess I got a question. So you guys are going to continue working closely with NEA to see how we can create a safe work environment for our staff, and that has nothing to do with wages or anything else. It's more of a safety issue that you're going to take into consideration once we become going to that hybrid or full-time teaching, still with the understanding that the COVID-19 is still going to be present. Is that what I'm hearing?
Exactly right. And so in our meeting about a week ago, the NEA team asked us to provide them with certain documentation. Some of it was around the protocols for taking temperatures for PPE, but some of it was also around how do teachers who are not able to come back to work because of underlying conditions or family members with those conditions. So last week, we sent them all of the paperwork that Brian and his team had put together with the approval of our attorneys. So if someone didn't know what to do, they could get it both from the principal or the district or from the union. So I think we will continue to meet because those conditions will continue to develop.
Mr. Otero, President Smith, board members, Mr. Gibson, we have been working really well with the district these last 3 weeks, just being able to bring on some really intense emotional things people are going through because there are so many questions. As you know, I'm sure you get a lot of questions too. And we've been clarifying it and putting it out there, and the district will have the information and we have the information. It's just running so much smoother just this last week. So as things are going better. It was a rough start because we had so many questions, but now I think we're on the right road, and we'll just keep going back to the table. And the table is very welcoming. It's able to listen to us, and we listen to them.
Good to hear.
Mr. President.
Mr. Hidon.
Mr. Vera, I've had to sit in your seat probably for 12 years, and I probably did 4 contracts. And just by seeing you smiling, Mr. Brian Baca smiling, and Walter, I've never seen that before. Usually one side smiles, either the management side or the union side. But both sides are smiling, and I'm going to tip my hat off to Mr. Brian Baca because I remember he was transparent on wages a few months ago, so maybe that's what it took. One question: what is the duration of this collective bargaining agreement once we vote on this?
Mr. Hiron, you talking to me? I'm going to answer it.
Mr. Gibson. I guess I could go to Mr. Gibson.
You can respond, Margot. We have the information. Go ahead.
So they're 3-year contracts. This year, the ESP, classified employees contract, expired. So we went over the whole contract, and so that one will expire in 2023 now. Next year, the certified contract will expire, and we will again spend lots of time looking that over. And when it expires, and we bring things to the table, anything to the table at that point. If the contract isn't expiring, then each team can bring 2 items to the table. But when it expires, we work on the entire contract.
Thank you.
Any other comments? I will stand for motion on item 10A.
Mr. President,
Mr. Hidon.
I move that we ratify our portion of the collective bargaining agreement at this time.
I have a motion by Mr. Eloy Hidon on item number 10A to approve item 10A. I'll stand for a second.
I'll second.
A second by Mr. Stephen Otero. Mr. Vickers, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Frank Otero, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Stephen Otero, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Eloy Hidon, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes. I'll stand for a motion on item 10B.
All of a sudden got bashful here.
So moved. I guess there's no discussion on item 10B because it kind of rolls into 10B, correct?
Yeah, it does.
Correct. I have a motion by Mr. Stephen Otero to approve item 10B, educational support personnel 2020 to 2023. I'll stand for a second.
Seconded.
I have a second by Mr. Eloy Hidon. Mr. Vickers, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Frank Otero, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Stephen Otero, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Eloy Hidon, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes. That brings us to item 11C3, professional legal services over 40K threshold, Himes, Petrarca, and Fester, invoice number 43791 through July 21st, 2020, 11,000 out of operational. This is Mr. Vickers.
Mr. Stephen Otero also had comment on that, so I'll defer to him.
I think we should move forward with this thing, this issue. It's my understanding that, yes, part of this purchase order was on the fiscal year of 2019, 2020, and some of it's rolling into the fiscal year of 2020, 2021. Based on that, I think that we're within the purchasing rules that apply.
Thank you, Mr. Otero. Mr. Vickers?
I don't really have any more comment on it. I'm not going to change any minds, so we can vote.
Any more comments, board members? I will stand for a motion on item 11C3.
I make a motion that we approve 11C3.
Thank you, Mr. Stephen Otero. I'll stand for a second.
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Eloy Hidon to approve item number 11C3, professional legal services over 40K threshold, Himes, Petrarca, and Fester, invoice 43791 through July 21st, 2020, 11,000 operational. Mr. Vickers, how do you vote?
No.
Mr. Frank Otero, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Stephen Otero, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Eloy Hidon, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes. That brings us to item number 12, announcement of meetings. As allowed by the Open Meeting Act and District Open Meetings Resolution, on occasion, a quorum of board members attend the same function, including those held at school sites at the district level, as well as sports functions, conferences, workshops, and trainings. Board members will refrain from discussing and or acting on board issues in those settings. In addition, only official meetings are published, and if other meetings are scheduled, they will be announced in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. I would like to announce the following meetings. On August 19th, in the conference room, there will be an audit committee meeting at 9 a.m. It is by invitation only. On September 8th, in the boardroom, there will be a regular board meeting at 6 p.m. Location dependent on CDC mandates. If needed, the meetings will be held via Zoom. On September 15th, we changed this, Ms. Wolf, correct?
We did.
On September 10th, 2020, there will be a Finance Committee meeting in the boardroom at 4 p.m. September 10th for the Finance Committee. Location dependent on CDC mandates. If needed, the meeting will be held via Zoom. And on September 22nd, 2020, there will be a regular board meeting in the boardroom. Location dependent on CDC mandates. If needed, it will be held via Zoom at 6 p.m. It brings us to item number 13, adjournment. I would stand for vote.
Mr.
Mr.
Smith,
President?
Vickers.
You said that the August 19th meeting, which is tomorrow, would be in the conference room. I believe that will be by Zoom. Is that correct?
All the meetings are location dependent on CDC mandates. If needing, the meetings will be held via Zoom. Yes, correct. Tomorrow it'll be via Zoom.
Okay.
I don't want to speak for the other ones. I can tell you that if we're where we're at right now, they're going to be held via Zoom, but I don't want to say where those will be held. But if needed, they will be held as Zoom as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Hidon.
What, in September, you said September 22nd is our board meeting?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
At 6 p.m. That will bring us to item number 13, adjournment. I will stand for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I
So-
will move to adjourn the meeting. Mr.
I have a
President.
motion by Mr. Stephen Otero to adjourn the meeting. I'll stand for a second.
I'll second it.
I have a second by Mr. David Vickers. Mr. Vickers, how do you vote?
Yes,
Mr. Frank Otero, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Stephen Otero, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Eloy Hidon, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Thank you, everyone, for putting this on, everybody for attending. Thank you, Technology Department, for another job well done. Good night.
All right.